What's up guys, welcome to new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today I am going to show you on how to create a complete first-person shooter game. It will cover all the things that you need. And remember that you can get the project files through my Patreon and YouTube members, so link in the description. Now just in case you are interested, I do also have a full third-person shooter tutorial, so I will be linking it in the description. Alright, it's gonna be a very easy video to follow, so let's get started. So the first thing that we have to do is create a new Unreal project. In my case, I am going to be using the latest version, 5.3.1, and I do recommend that you use the same version as me or above. In this case, we are going to be choosing the first person template as we will already have some of the controls done. We are going to be choosing blueprints. You can select your target platform, in my case it will be desktop, your quality preset, and then we can enable started content or not. In this case, we will not really need it, so we can just disable it, and then ray tracing, well, depends on your hardware. Then go ahead and specify a project location, your PC, and let's go ahead and just put in a name, which in my case will be first person shooter. Alright, so now we can go ahead and hit create. Okay, so the project has been created, as you can see. Now, a thing that I always like to have is my content browser right at the bottom. So just in case you don't have that, what you can do is go up into Window, Content Browser, select your content browser, and then just drag it and anchor it at the bottom. Okay, so if we press play, as you can see, we already have a functional first-person character that we can just walk around, and we can pick a gun and shoot. Now, we will change all of this, okay? So, the only thing that we will keep is the basic character controls, but all the shooting, guns, and etc. will be handled by us. So the first thing I'm going to do is change a bit the character controller to enhance it, okay? In my case, what I'm going to do is go into the first person folder, blueprints, and now we can see our first person character blueprint. So now if we double click this to open this up, you can see in the viewport we have our components, such as the camera, the arms, and so on. So what I'm going to do is select the first person mesh and detach it from the first person camera, and that's because our arms will be separate. So now what I'm going to do is select the capsule component and add a component called the spring arm. Now normally we use the spring arm to touch the camera at the end of this spring arm, but in this case it will be a bit different. So let's rename this to be the arms spring arm. And now I'm gonna get the mesh, which is the other mesh, the first person mesh. I'm gonna rename this to just be the arms and attach it to be in the spring arm. Now the spring arm will have a arm length of 0, so there will be no separation. And now you're probably wondering, why have I added the arms into a spring arm? It makes no sense. Well, the thing is that if we go to details and search for lag, we can enable one thing which is called the camera rotation lag. And what this will do is add some smoothing when we turn the camera. And we want to use this because I want to create a style of body cam game approach where it will feel very smoothly and it will feel like the arms are slightly separated from the camera. So in the camera rotation lag, I can put something as 17. And you will see that now when I press play and I manage to see my arms, which is hard, they will be a bit separated. Now, don't worry, we'll tune this in a bit better in a second. But another thing that I want to do is basically change the animations of this arm to be holding a weapon, and of course, also attach the camera into the player's head, which we will need to add a imaginary character, so it will create this realistic head movement as we move. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's import the arm animations, which I will be linking in the description. So let's go into the first person arms folder, animations, and now what we can do is import the animations that I will be leaving in the description, which will be just two. Will be basically a pistol walk forward and an idle. So now let's drag them into this folder, and very important, let's select the SK mannequin arms skeleton. Okay, now we can say import all, and now you see that will have some warning, and it's okay. we'll go down and we have them here. So we double click on this, you can see the idle animation and also the walk forward animation. Great. Now what we need to do is basically create an animation blend space so we can transition from this to animations depending on the speed. Let's right click, go into animation, legacy, and let's create a blend space 1D. In this case, let's select the arms and let's go ahead and call this the arms blend space 1D. And let's open this up. In this case, let's go to the horizontal axis and put this to be the speed. The minimum speed will be 0 and the maximum, in this case, let's put something as 400. Okay, so basically a blend space, as I mentioned before, will allow us to transition from one animation into another depending on a value, which in this case will be the player's speed. So I can just go here and search for the idle animation, which will be the pistol, the one that we imported, and drag it onto the left. And then I can get the walk forward and just go ahead and drag it all the way to the right. So now if I hold Control and move this around the timeline, as the speed increases, my character will be walking. Great, so now what we can do is close this and create a new animation blueprint. Right click, animation, blueprint. Let's select once again the arm skeleton, create, and let's call this something as ABP_arms. And let's open this up. Okay, so now what we can do is get the arms blend space that we have just created and just attach it into the output pose. If we compile right now, the speed is 0. And then if we go ahead and increase this to 400 manually and compile, it will be walking. So basically we have to change this variable depending on the player speed in the game. Now don't worry about the fingers, we'll tune them a bit later, but they will not be really visible from the player's perspective because it will have a pistol, okay? It will be kind of hidden, so don't worry about that. Alright, so let's go ahead and right click and promote this to a variable. So we have it as a variable. And now we can go into the event graph, and in the update, we can just get our owner and just get the velocity of this owner. And now this will be a vector, but this is a float. So we can use this handy node, which is the vector length, which will convert the vector into float. And now we can just put the speed to be this. So on every frame, it will be getting the speed from our actor, which will be the player. Okay, so now yes, we can go back into our arms and put in the new animation blueprint, which is ABP arms, and now as you can see it's there. Now, the rotation will be a bit messed up and so on. Don't worry, let's just go ahead and reposition this. So rotate this 90 degrees, put it a bit down, and so on. Let's go ahead and do so, and a bit up. And basically I have to be a bit more in front because they will be more visible to the player. So now if I press play, you can see that they're there, and I can move, and they have a nice rotation lag, as you can see when I add. It's a nice interpolation. Now you can see that like I said, the fingers are all messed up, but don't worry, they will not be very visible with the pistol. But basically we have those things going on. So now we have the player arms set up, which is pretty nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the player pistol. So in my case, again, I will be linking it in the description. This one is from Elira, so we can just get the folder and just drag it into the Hunter browser, which will contain the FBX, the animation, and of course the textures. Let's close this. Let's go ahead and click reset to default just in case. Make sure everything's by default, but make sure to also check import animations because there's a single little fire animation. Let's say import all. Now let's wait a few seconds, and they will say that there's a FBX that failed. Yes, okay, no worry. Go back here, but we have everything set up with also the pistol animation, which will not really work, but it's okay because it will not really be visible. Okay, so now what we can do is wait a few seconds. There we go, and we need to apply those textures into the material. So let's double click to open this up, hold Ctrl space to open up the content browser, go into the pistol folder, and now let's get the textures. In this case, this black and white one, which is the D, will be our base color. So let's plug that there and delete the other one from our RGB. Then let's open this once again with Ctrl space, and we can drag in the normal map into the normal, which will add some bumps and so on. Now if I apply, go back into the SK mesh, we can see that now it has the materials. Great. So let's save everything with Ctrl-Shift-S, very important. Now let's go ahead and close all of this. And now what I want to do is open up the arms and add a new socket, which will be a position in our bones where we will have our pistol. So let's go into the first person arms folder. Let's go into character mesh and open up the skeleton, okay? Now in this case, what we're going to do is preview an animation. In this case, the idle will work because we're just gonna ahead and pop it on there. So it will be this one, MM pistol idle AES. That's the one that we imported. And now what we need to do is go and anchor it into the right hand, so it'll be there. So again, don't worry about the fingers, it will not really be visible from our player perspective as much. So let's go down, find the hand R bone, right click in it, and now we can add a socket. So now we can rename this socket as RH of right hand and pistol. And now we can move this socket around, and that will be the position that we will anchor our pistol. Now, yes, for some guidance, what we can do is right click on this socket, go down into preview asset, and just add a pistol model. And now, yes, we can start to rotate this and put it in place. So let's go ahead and also just pause this so it's a bit easier, and now let's move it. Now again, all the fingers are messed up, but from our player perspective, it will not be really visible, okay? So we have to play around with these values, okay? And positioning. So first of all, let me try this out, okay? I think that I had to rotate it like this, but let me just wait a few seconds to try it in game. So now we have that socket created. And don't worry, because the pistol will not appear. If I now, for example, press play, the pistol is not there. And that's because we have only created the empty socket, but this static mesh is only a preview, okay? So what we have to do is go into the first person character and add it. Now in this case, we have to add this pistol, which I call this static mesh, but it's a skeleton mesh because it has bones, okay? And we're gonna go into the first person blueprint, go inside of the arms, because this is the thing that will contain, of course, our socket. And now we can just add a skeleton mesh, the pistol, which will have it selected. That's why I already added. If not, you can just add an empty static mesh and you search the pistol here. And now we have here the parent socket option. So we can go and find our RH pistol socket that we created. You can see it will be offset. That's because we have to reset the location and rotation. And now yes, is there. So very important. Let's make sure that it has no collisions on. So it will be not affecting like the player capsule collision and so on. Okay, so now if I press play, we can see it there in action and it looks great. Now we have to rotate it a bit to the left, as you can see, so no problem. We can just here and rotate it slightly into the left a bit, so it'll be more centered. And we can tune it in a bit more as we go, but it's looking great, as you can see. So now we have the pistol mounted in the player's arms, so that's looking great. Okay, so now let's implement the player head bobbing. So right now when we move, of course we have the animation of the, hands moving around as we walk, but the camera is completely still. And if we want a very realistic and cool approach, we can move slightly the camera head as we move. And the easiest way, a more accurate way to do so, is to basically anchor it into an actual player head that is moving, right? So what I am going to do is go ahead and import the third person template, which will contain the Manny skeleton, which is a full mannequin which we can use, and an walking animation. So we can just go into add, feature or content pack, blueprint, and select the third person template. We can just say add to project, and don't worry, now we will have to delete some folders that we will not need, of course. So there we go. The first thing that we're gonna be deleting is this third person folder, okay? So let's go ahead and select it, third person delete, because we don't need all of that. Okay, so just delete it. There we go. And now we should be good, because if we go to characters, mannequins, and we go to animations, and for example Manny, because we have two types of characters, as you may know, we have now the idle and walk animations that we will basically go ahead and use and so on. So what we're going to do is on here, right click, animation, and and create a new legacy blend space 1D. In this case, let's select the SK mannequin, not the arms, okay? Very important, now it has to be just the mannequin, the whole itself. Now let's go ahead and rename this to just be the body, blend space 1D. Open this up, and once again, we have to change the parameters. So the speed will be called like that, and then the maximum will be, I think we set it to 400. And now we can insert the idle animation, which is the MM idle or MF idle, whatever you prefer, they're very similar. And then also the walk forward animation, in this case this one, the forward, okay? If I hold Control, move this around the timeline, you can see that as the speed increases, the character will basically move. Great, so let's quickly create an animation blueprint for it. Go to Animation, Blueprint, select the SK mannequin for the whole body, create ABP underscore body. Let's open this up, and now once again is exactly the same as we did for the arms, okay? So if you want to pause the video as part of a challenge and do it yourself, go ahead and we'll cover this in a few seconds. Okay, so what basically we have to do is get the body blend space, okay? And just plug it in into the result. Now we'll basically be animating, but we have to update this variable, right? So let's right click and convert this to a parameter, or in this case a variable, and let's go to the event graph. In here we can get the owner in the update and just get the velocity as we did before, and then we can use the vector length node to convert this into a nice float, and we can just get the speed and just set it on here on the update. So it's exactly the same as we did with the arms, okay? So if you managed to do this challenge, good job, very proud of you. And if not, don't worry, we just covered it, so hopefully it will be clear. Okay, so now we can go ahead and close this, and we're gonna go into the first person character blueprint, okay, into the viewport. And now what we need to do is enroll this. Let's select this mesh, and I am going to be adding the mani, okay, which is going to be the mani simple. Now we have it here. Let's select the body animations, and let's just rotate this minus 90 degrees over here. So now it will be perfectly in position. I think that this is a bit offset, maybe. I don't know why there's minus 55 here. Oh, because it's turned back. Ah, that's good. Okay, I want to actually be a bit turned back. And then what I want to do is maybe a bit forward, and I'm gonna get the first person camera, pop it inside of the mesh, and then change the parent socket to be the head. Now you will see that it will be mounted into the player's head. Let's go ahead and reset the position, and basically I have to rotate this around 90 degrees like this, and another 90 degrees like this, so it will be facing the correct way. And now basically I just have to put it a bit forward, and then we can go ahead and press play to test things out. As you can see now, when I move, the camera also bobs up and down, which creates a more realistic movement, and it's so cool. And I will see my body, of course, that's pretty cool, but of course it will be separated from the arms. So don't worry, what we can do is kinda merge them together in a way, but we will not really create a realistic result. So really it's just kinda maybe limiting the camera angle, okay? is what we're going to do, okay? We're gonna go into such of a deal of, merging the arms with the body, okay? No worry about that. You can maybe put them, more backwards, but it's okay for me. Okay, so now we have that set up, so our camera movement will be way more realistic. Okay, so now let's go ahead and implement shooting. So when we go ahead and left click, we'll basically do a line trace, which is like an invisible right cast from our tip of our gun into our destination where we're looking into, and we'll apply damage into whatever is there. So let's go and create a new input. So let's go into the first person folder, input, actions, and we already have an IA shoot, okay? In this case, it will just basically be a digital bool. So we have the action created, which came with the third person template, but we have to add it to the collection. So let's go into the default, and now what we can do is add a new mapping, and this will be the shoot. And now we can specify what key we want, so we can click this button and then just press the left mouse button or manually search it, but it's easier to go ahead and just click it. Okay, so now we go back to the first person character, go to the event graph and go a bit down. We can right click and then just search for IA_shoot. And now when we press this on the started, we can do something. In this case, we are going to be doing a light trace by channel. Okay, so we detect whatever it would do. Okay, so it will go from one starting point into an end point. The starting point will be the pistol position. Now in this case, let's create a socket for it, okay? So what we can do is go to the pistol, enter into the skeleton, and what we're going to do is basically create a new socket. So we're gonna go and select the, in this case, I think we can select the grip, or yeah, let's select the grip, add a new socket, and let's rename this to be the muzzle. So now we can just go ahead and move this into the front, and it will appear the ray on there. Okay, so that will be good. We can now close it, and now just go ahead and you say get socket bone name or socket location, rotation, whatever. In this case, we want to get the transform, because if we right click and split it, we now have the location and rotation. In this case, the location will be that one because that's where we want to go. And in this case, it will be the RTS parent bone space because we want to get where our parent bone is looking. And we want to also put the muzzle name. This has to be exactly the same as you named the socket, so that's very important. Okay, so now the endpoint will be where we are looking forward. So for that, we can just get the forward vector, and then we want to times this. And that's because we want to set the distance. So we can just right click, convert this to float, and this will be how far away we want our bullet to go. In this case, around maybe 5,000 will work for me. Now we can just go ahead and get the location and add this vector with this one, and that'll give us our endpoint. Great, so now what we can do is just put this for duration to preview it. So for now, press play and I shoot. You can see that nothing will happen, okay? And you're probably wondering, wait, what is happening? Well, if we go, first of all, let's make sure that this is triggering. So what we can do is add a print. If I press play, so you can see it is indeed printing hello at the top left corner. So that is working correctly. So now we can plug that back there. So basically the problem is with the transforms that's being created in another place. So we can basically play with different transform spaces to get what we want. You can see now we got the line trace, but of course it's appearing in another part of the world. So that's not the one that we want. Let's try with world. And okay, we are getting something. It's a bit better, but it's still going a bit where it wants to, right? But that's basically working because actually the muzzle flash is, you know, looking a bit up the point. So actually this is the point that we want, which is working, okay? So this is working. But the thing is that because the pistol is a bit tilted, it's going upwards. So what I am going to do is actually change this a bit, okay? And it's basically just like put it to be from our camera perspective because that will save issues. So I know that we did all this. Don't worry, let's disconnect it and let's put it for later because we will use it anyway for our muzzle flash, okay? Not the calculations, but the location and rotation itself. So now here what we're going to do instead is a bit simpler. Just get the first person camera and get the world transform. And now we can right click split. This will be the starting location and the rotation. Well, in this case, we can go ahead and just copy this three things. Actually gonna Control X and move them and paste them because it's the same. We're gonna get the forward vector of our camera, so where we are looking at, and then we're gonna be adding this into here, and that will be the endpoint. And now you'll see that it will go into exactly where we're looking for, okay? It will not really come out from the pistol point, but because it's invisible, it will do the job. Okay, so now that's done. And what we can do is just make sure that if we have hit something, we'll go ahead and break this. And now we have all the details about the object that we have hidden. In this case, we want to apply damage. So Unreal Engine has an implemented damage system into the engine, which is great. So we can just get the hit actor, so the actor that we have basically detected, and then just apply damage. There's already a node that will do this. In this case, we can apply whatever damage we want. So let's just right click, create a new variable, and this will be the pistol damage. Great. So now this pistol damage, if we compile, we can apply something, for example, maybe 15. You can play around with values as you prefer. So now when we do something, it will apply damage, but of course these actors, they're basically empty static meshes, so they will not do anything. But when you have our AIs, it will actually do some damage into them. So that's it up. Now we can basically shoot some right line traces. Okay, so let's add the muzzle flash effect. In this case, we are going to be adding this Infinity Blade Effects asset, which is from Epic Games themselves, and it is completely free in the marketplace, so I'll be linking it below. So what we have to do is basically download it and then just add it into the project. In this case, let's search for our first-person shooter and just click Add to Project, and now we'll just wait a few seconds until this completes. Okay, so it has just finished importing and basically said complete, and now it says again Add to Project. So now we can just close the Epic Games launcher and we can see a new folder called Infinity Blade Effects. If we go ahead and enter in this folder and search for muzzle flash, you can see that we have a few of them. In this case, let's use this one, which I think looks pretty good. So what we need to do is go into the first person character blueprint, and right after we shoot our line trace, we will basically apply the muzzle flash. Okay, so this will be independent from if we hit an object or not. So actually, let's create a sequence here. This will allow us to have different pins from one connection. In this case in here, we want to basically put a different emitter. So we can say spawn emitter at location or attached. In this case, I think that because it will be very quick, we can just handle it by doing at location. So let's try that out. So it will basically spawn a system emitter at a location. And in this case, we want to get our muzzle flash socket. That's why we didn't delete it. And now we can just apply the location here and the rotation here and put this to be auto release on the pooling, so it will be like more optimized. So now we can search for the muzzle flash, and it will be this chicken master. I don't know why it's called chicken master, but it looks pretty cool. And now you see that when we basically shoot, the muzzle flash will appear. It's basically loaded. Oh my god, we have feathers. Okay, I think it was the other one. we have feathers going out. Okay, I think it was the other one in that case. The backpack. It has to be backpack in that case. Okay, see. Yeah, that's a bit better. Well, I mean, there's a ray shooting towards us. I don't know if because it's incorrect in the positioning. Let's see the fireball how it looks. Yeah, I think the one. I mean, the chicken looks pretty cool, but of course there's like feathers going out, but we can edit the feathers. But I think the thing is that they're coming towards me, right? The rotation is incorrect in this case, I believe so. So we can just go to the rotation and basically just split the rotation into individual axes, get the Z, which is the yaw, and just basically add basically 180. And this should, in theory, and just connect the other ones like they are, rotated to look the other way. Let's test this out. No, okay, so now it's actually firing. Okay, so it was correct. Sorry about that. So let's recombine them. Recombine the rotation, plug it in, and let's enter into this chicken master. Okay, and basically I'm gonna just duplicate this, and this will be the chicken master 2. Let's plug this one in, and then let's just edit it real quick. Now I have to mention this, and this is not using Niagara, which is the new Unreal Engine particle system. This is using Cascade, which is the old one, and I know it is a bummer, but it is what it is. It's a simple particle, okay, so no worries. In this case, we have here the particle, okay, of the feathers. So as you can see, we can just disable it here, and now it will disappear. So just click this button, and with that, we can now shoot, and we will not have any feathers going out. And now let's change a bit the scale, so maybe around 0.2, because that is absolutely massive for a pistol. And now it's way better, as you can see we shoot, and it looks much better. Now this is what I was talking about. You can see I was deciding between if to put it as attached or at location. If we are still, it looks pretty cool, but if we are moving, because it is not attached to the gun, it goes backwards and it does look very bad. So let's change this from being spawn emitter at location to attached. So let's right click, spawn emitter attached, and it will be the same pretty much stuff. Let's just hold control, move that down, and let's apply the muzzle flash of the chicken 2, which is that one. And now we are going to just attach it into a specific component, which will be directly the pistol, okay? And then we can just put the muzzle to be on the point that we want, okay? And the location rotation should in theory stay the same, and this could stay the same maybe, it's an auto release. So let's test this out. So if I now shoot, there we go. So now it actually stays, which is a bit nicer. And let's change the scale once again to be 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. And now it does go ahead and shoot correctly, and we move and it stays a bit more there, which looks way nicer. So let's delete this one, put it here, and we actually don't need that transform. So there we go. Okay, so now we have that there. Let's put it here, and everything looks great. So now we are basically shooting and so on. So that's great, we have the muzzle flash added. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a small camera shake when we shoot to make a bit more of a, feeling that we're actually shooting. So let's go ahead and just right click, create a new folder to just call it blueprints in general. And in this case in here, we are going to be creating a new blueprint class, and let's expand this and just basically just search for camera shake. And let's use this legacy camera shake. Let's call this BP underscore shoot camera shake. Let's open this up, and now we can change a bit the settings about this camera shake. So in this case, it will be like 0.25 maybe. The rotation will be with maybe an amplitude of 1, frequency of 2. We can play around, okay? Okay, and we can just basically set some settings. We can go back to the first person and just play camera shake and select the one that we just created, which is the shoot. And the epicenter will be the get actor location, because it's where we are shooting, at our location. And now the outer radius, how far away it will go, let's put something as 3000, okay? Doesn't really matter, it will be a single player. And you can see now when we shoot, we have a very small camera shake, which looks pretty cool. Now maybe we have to make it a bit faster, so maybe 0.1 will be a bit more accurate. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. You can see when we shoot, there's a small camera shake, which looks pretty cool. And yeah, I love it. We can maybe add some in the, not in rotation, but also location, but I think that it will be enough, okay? Maybe 0.17. It'll look a bit better. You can play around with the values to get what you want, but I think 0.17 looks really good, honestly. Wow, cool stuff. Alright, so camera shake done. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some sounds. In this case, some footsteps and then a fire sound effect. So let's go to our content browser, just right click and create a new folder. Let's call this audio. It is always very important to have everything organized and, folders and so on, and not have everything just scattered everywhere, okay? So let's enter in our audio folder. And let's import our 2 sounds. In my case, I am going to be leaving them in the description. Let's go ahead and just drag the 2 into there, and now we have them here. So we have a pistol fire, and then a footstep. So what I am going to do is basically change the pitch every time that we play them, because if not, they will sound very repetitive. And this is a very good trick, because I will not need 20 different sound files with different, alterations and pitch when I can do it in real time when we play it. So for that, what I am going to do is right click, go into audio and create a meta sound. Let's call this ms underscore footstep. Let's begin with a footstep. And let's open this up. So now here what I can do is that when we play the sound, I can play a wave player, in this case mono, and it will be that clip. So right now until here we're just basically playing our footstep like normal, like if we were just to play from the audio source. And now we can go ahead and just plug the output into the output, and when it's on finish into the output to tell our meta sound that the sound has finished. If I press play, everything is normal. But what I can do is get the pitch and add a random float and connect this into next and this into next. So now each time that we play it, we can add a random range of this, in this case around -3 and 3. So now every time that I play it, it will sound slightly different, which will make it more realistic, less repetitive, and very simple without having 25 different audio files, which is very, very nice. Now, maybe you don't notice it a lot, so you can play with the ranges to get what you want, but it has to be very subtle. Now let's duplicate this and do the same, but with the pistol fire. So pistol fire, open this up, and the only thing I have to change here is the wave acid to be, of course, the pistol fire. Now it will be the same. As you can see, it slightly changes to be more realistic without having 20 different audio files like I just mentioned. Okay, so now we have to play that pistol fire. Okay, so what I am going to do is go to the first person blueprint, and down here when we play the camera shake and so on, I am also gonna ahead and just play a sound at location, and it will be that ms underscore pistol fire. Now remember to use the meta sound that we created, not the original sound, because if not it will not have the pitch alteration that we just added. So let's get the actual location, because that will be where the sound is, you know, gonna appear in this case. And with that said, we can just go ahead and test this out. As you can see, that that is literally great. That works so well. And then we will add the footsteps. So in my case, I am going to be adding the footsteps in the player's body, because, well, it's where we have the legs, right? So it makes sense. So let's go to the characters folder, mannequins, animations, mani. Now, very important, you have to use the ones that you use in the body blend space, which in my case, it is the idle and walk forward, okay? Very important, it has to be those. So in my case, I am using the walk forward, and of course the idle is still, so we will not need to add footsteps on that, only in the walk forward. So in this case, Unreal Engine has already marked us where we, you know, have each footstep, so that's great. Let's add a new track, which will be sounds, and we can just put our cursor on top of the part where our feet touches the ground, which again has been marked by Epic Games, so that's very good. Just right click exactly that point, add a notify of play sound, and now we can select this in the details. We can search for MS footstep, and that's done. So now we can select this, press Ctrl C, go to the next one, click on here, and Ctrl V to paste it. Very important, you have to click on the place that you want to put it. Okay, so now we are pasting this, and now if we press play, you can see that it will be playing, and I'm going to do the same, which is great. Cool. All right, so that is working. I am also going to go ahead and decrease a bit the max walk speed to around 400, where we set it on the blend space, so it'll be a bit more accurate. There we go, that's a bit better. Haha, that's so cool. I love how it is looking. Okay, so now what we have to do is go ahead and set up a dummy so we can apply damage into it. Let's go ahead and do so. So let's go into our blueprints folder and let's create this dummy blueprint. Just right click, blueprint class, select, in this case, character, because it will already have a mesh and a capsule collider that we can use. And let's name this BP_dummy. So we'll continue all the logic to apply damage. And then later on, we'll turn this dummy into the AI that will basically be your enemy. So what we are going to do is select the mesh and use apply, in this case for testing, the SK Mani Simple or Queen Simple, whatever you prefer. let's put the location to be at -89 on the z-axis and -90 on the z-axis once again, and the rotation shows perfectly placed. Let's put the name class to be the body, because we just have the auto animation, so that's great. And then what we're going to do is go to the event graph, because we need to add some things up here. You remember that in the first person character blueprint, we had this very handy node which is inside of Unreal, which is the apply damage. Well, now in the dummy, what I can do is add the event any damage. So this will be triggered when we receive damage. So in this case, if the actor that have hit it with a line trace and I have applied damage is the dummy, he will receive this and it will do whatever is here. In this case, we will have some health. So let's create a new variable, name it health, and let's change it to be a float, because it has to be some numbers with decimals, right? Let's put some initial health, very important. So let's press compile, and let's put something as maybe, I don't know, 30, right? Whatever you prefer. And what I am going to do is get health and basically subtract it from whatever the damage is incoming, because we have the input of what health it is incoming. Then I want to set it, so I'm gonna update the health variable with whatever the subtraction was, and then I am going to do a check, which is if this health is less or equal than 0. If so, I basically want to die. Well, the AI wants to die. So I'll get the mesh and set simulate physics. What they will do is basically go ahead and ragdoll. So it will basically set physics on all of his bones and just fall. So very important, let's let the mesh go down. And the collision presets has to be on custom. And on collision enabled, it has to be collision enabled query and physics. So all the bones will interact with each other, if not it will be bugged. Okay, so now in theory this should work. If I put my dummy here, sorry, that's the third person character, no, it has to be the dummy, there we go. Let's rotate this. Also, we will not use this gun, so let's delete it. And now if I go here and shoot the dummy, which don't worry, I know that we are shooting in a different place from where our pistol is, don't worry, we'll fix that in a second. Nothing will actually happen, it's because it is not collision. As you can see, the rays are going through and colliding actually in the wall. And this is because if we go into the first person character, we're using here the visibility trace channel, but in our mesh we have visibility set to ignore in the dummy, okay? So make sure to click block, and now yes, we can basically hit our dummy. We hit it twice and he will ragdoll to the floor, which looks amazing. Looks pretty cool, honestly. So now with that said, everything should be done and looking great. Cool. So that's it. Let's do one change. I want to experiment with this, and let's put this spring arm to be basically inside of the the first person camera. Let me try this out, because now do you guys think that this looks a bit better? Yeah, I think that, because now we can look up and down, yeah, but with a bit of offset. So maybe like you know, like this, so it's more straight. Yeah, I think that looks way better. Yeah. Okay, cool stuff. Okay, so now that's better, and actually it will match a bit better what we are hitting. So quickly, let's add a simple crosshair, right? So we know where we are aiming. So for that, let's go and just add a new user interface, which will be a widget, and this will be a WB_HUD. And on here, what I'm going to do is add a canvas panel, which will allow us to place things on the screen. Let's add an image. Let's just put it on the center. Let's put the position X and Y on 0, 0, so it will be in the center, and alignment 0.5, 0.5, so now yes, it will be centered. Now let's put the size to be around 40 and 40, and now in the brush we're going to put an image. In this case, Unreal Engine has this anchor, which looks like a crosshair, very ugly, but it will do the job. And of course we have to add this HUD to when we start the game. Let's also just create a folder for UI and drag it inside. Move here, very important. So let's open up the first person character blueprint, and in the begin play, when the game starts, let's add it. We are going to be just creating the widget. create widget node. I don't know how to type. You see, it's like, there you go, create widget, finally. And now we're gonna add that HUD and add it into the player viewport. And now, yes, as you can see, we can see that crosshair, and we'll basically shoot exactly where we're aiming, which is nice. Now the pistol is kind of in the way, you know, it's kind of in the way. So we need to play a bit around with the, oh my god, where my viewport would go. Viewport, where is it? It's kind of in the way, so let's move it a bit. So did my viewport just go? Window, viewport, there we go, didn't see it. Okay, so let me move this here, sorry about that. And now I'm gonna get my arm, spring arm, and move it a bit more back. Let's see, that's a bit better. That's a bit better. And then I think it has to be a bit rotated downwards. So let me change the snapping to a bit less. Let's put it a bit downwards. And okay, that is perfect. Great. So if you want to copy exactly my positioning, here are the values, okay? Very important. Okay, so that will be said for our damaging and the crosshair, and it looks pretty cool. There we go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add some particles so when we hit the enemy. So let's go into the first person character, go to the event graph. As you can see in here, we have when we basically, you know, collide with the actor. So what we're going to do is basically spawn system at the location, and I'm gonna select this impact player effect. I think it was called like that. Let me see, player. Oh, sorry, it is not system, it is spawn emitter. And this because, very important, when it is a cascade, which is the old system for Unreal where you're using emitter. But when we're using Niagara, which is the new version of the particle systems in Unreal, it will be a system, okay? So be careful with that. Okay, so now, yes, it will be impact player, and I think it is fire weak, I think it is. And now we can just pass this impact point as the location. Rotation can stay the same, and scale maybe like 0.5, maybe that's a bit better, and then pulling out to release. So now in theory, when I collide, we should have some particles going on, which is hard to see. I don't know if they're, oh yeah, so you can see that they're appearing, but the rotation has to be modified. So we're gonna get the normal and do a make rot from X. So it will always be looking at us, and I think that will do the trick. Okay, so yeah, so you can see it's appearing, but it's the same color. So let me change this to be the impact player. Maybe instead of weak, it will be medium. That will be a bit better. Yeah, it's a bit better. And I want to change the color. Let's see if we can. So let's search it. Okay, here it is. Let's duplicate this to be, yeah, this one. And that's very important with that new one selected. Let's anchor in there. Let's open this up and let's see. So we have some things as the color that changes over lifetime, but yeah, we're using those values because if you change this to red, I mean, it will change that. But bright blood, this is the thing. Emitter color editor, color over lifetime. Once again, this points should be more reddish. So we're changing a bit this to be more reddish, but it's not very noticeable, that's the thing. But yeah, we're doing something, I guess. Color over lifetime. Now, of course, this cascade the old Unreal particle system, so I won't really recommend you to learn this, so that's why I'm not really explaining stuff. But if it was the Niagara, don't worry, that will be a bit simpler, but it's okay. So that's a bit better. They're basically, you know, adding some particles when we hit the guy. And we can also add this one, for example, impact enemy base. So we can basically do both, right? So now we can just plug that enemy base, and we can just double click on this and plug it here, and double click on this to make a reroute node and put on there, and then that should be it. So now we're putting 2 different particle effects and it looks way better, as you can see. Also in the floor, it looks crazy good, which is cool. Another thing is that we're gonna be disabling the debug for the line trees because, well, we don't need it anymore, right? We're already shooting like that. It looks pretty damn good. So cool stuff. I like how this is you know, turning out. So we have that particle hit effects done. Alright, so let's start to create the AI enemies. So in this case, what we're going to do is right click, create a new folder, call this AI, and let's enter into this folder. And now what I want to do is just right click and go into the AI artificial intelligence section, and let's create a blackboard. Let's call this BD_AI. Now this will basically contain a different variables that we can use to communicate between our behavior trees and our blueprints. So we'll see how we'll integrate it later on. But let's go ahead and just create that, and then also of course the behavior tree. So let's go ahead and name this BT_AI. Now I name it AI because it's gonna be basically pretty much generic, right? We are only gonna have one type of enemy AI, which will be our AI. So that's why I named it like that. Okay, so now what I want to do is create a blueprint class, which will be the AI controller. So let's search that, and it will be AI controller. This one selected, BP_AI_controller. So with that said, let's open up the AI controller, and on the event graph, when the game starts at the begin play, I want to run a behavior tree. So this is very important. Let's select the behavior tree, and now we can close this. Now, very important, let's go into our blueprints folder and basically get our dummy, drag it into the AI folder, and say copy here. So this will be our copy, and let's rename this to be our BP AI. So now in our blueprint for our AI, I want to go to the class defaults and search for the AI parameters, and now we can specify which AI controller class it will have. In this case, I want to add the one that we created, which is BP_AI_controller, which will basically have the nodes which will execute the behavior tree as we just added. Now, very important, another thing that I like to do is change this from out possess AI to place in world to place in world or spawned, just in case you spawn it and your AI will also work. Okay, so now with that said, let's go ahead and delete this dummy and drag in the real AI. Okay. Now, it will still, of course, not move or anything. So we need to add all these states. So let's open up our, not blackboard, but our behavior tree. And let's go ahead and make sure that it has assigned that blackboard asset, which it does, because it's the only one created. Okay, so now in here, the behavior tree will go from up to down, so basically downward, and from left to right. So with that, we will create a selector. And this selector will basically choose between different sequences. In this case, we want to have our first sequence, which will be our wonder sequence. So we'll just beat our AI, just moving around the level, basically searching us. And then we will basically have another sequence, which will be the chase sequence, where it will be chasing our player. Okay, and the selector will, choose which sequence to play. So again, the wonder sequence, because it is on the left, it will have a higher priority and it will play first. In this case, what I want to do is create a new task. So let's go up here, just click this button, and now in our AI folders, right click, create a new folder, call this the tasks, and then here let's rename this to be BT_task_, and then just wonder. Okay, so in here what I want to do is go to functions, override, and on the receive execute AI, which is when the task is started, right? This is like the begin play of the task. We want to move into a random location. So we can use the AI move to node, which comes with Unreal, which is the second one. And we can pass the control pawn, which is the AI itself. That's what it will move. And then the destination, well, we can just get a random point in the reachable radius. So we can just go ahead and just get the control pawn location, and that will be where the origin will start, right? Where our AI is right now. And with that said, we can put how far away we want our AI to go. In this case, maybe like 5,000 will do the job. On success, we're gonna apply the finish abort node, the finish execute node, checked because it succeeded, and on fail, it will be the same but unchecked on success. And now, if we go here and add that wander task, and then after this is completed, wait like 2 seconds, you can see that it will not move still. And that's because we have to add a very important component to our level, which is under here, quickly add to the sprite volumes, the nav mesh bounce volume. So let's drag it into our level, and let's make this with the locked go like 20. And if I press P, as you can see, everything that will be inside of this, which right now is 0, put it in 20. Oh my god, this is very bugged. Okay, let me just put this to 0, locked 20, 20. Okay, this is bugging. Let's unlock it and just put 20, 20. So now it's filling the whole level, and as you can see, if I press P, I can preview all of the paths that the AI can go. So this is the way that Unreal Engine will calculate all the possible paths where the AI can go. So now, as you can see, it will move. Now, it looked that it was going for me, but it's actually just picking random point, waiting 2 seconds and going. Now, there's a few things that we have to change. It is moving very quick and rotating very harshly. It looks very bad. So let's go ahead and tune those things in. So let's go into our BP AI in the AI folder where we have the mesh and so on. Let's go and select the character movement component and change the walk speed to be around 350. So it's a bit less than our 400 walk speed of our player. So we can run a bit faster than them. And then let's go down and enable orient rotation to movement. So he will basically move, rotate into where he's looking. Now he's already doing that, but in a very harsh way. In this, it will do it with a nice rotation rate, which will do it smoothly. And now we can go to defaults, search for yaw, and disable, because this is the one that it was using, and it's very harsh. And now, as you can see, he will be walking way slower, and when he turns, it will be smoother, as you can see. So now it's not like snapping. So now it will look way nicer, and that's it. So now what we're going to do is add the ability of sensing for our enemy AI with sight, so he can see us. So for that, let's open up our AI controller, and let's add a new component, which will be the AI perception, okay? This AI perception will allow us to basically add different senses. In this case, we want to add a sense, which will be the sight. And we can change different options inside of it, like the radius, the lose sight radius, if we want to detect neutrals, friends, or enemies only, the point of view, the angle, and so on. In this case, we want to detect everything. And this is because when we are in blueprints, this AI perception kind of bugs if we use this affiliation tags, right? Because this is really made for C++. So we are going to be detecting our player as an enemy by our own system, okay? So make sure to take all of these three, very important, okay? If not, it can break, and it probably will. So make sure to take those three. We can leave our dominant sense as none because we will only have one, which is sight, and then we're gonna leave this values by default, but we'll tune it in as we go. Okay, so now we can go down and go into the on target perception updated, and that's basically when we detect a new target. In this case, what I want to do is check that this actor has the tag player. Okay, so make sure to go into our first person blueprint, go to class default, search for tag, and add here the tag player. Very important. And of course, it has to be exactly written the same, so make sure that you don't do any mistakes. So if that player has the tag, well, that actor has the tag player, we want to search it. So in this case, we want to get the blackboard, which is, like I mentioned before, the thing that will have all of the variables that will connect between our behavior tree and our blueprints. And we want to basically set a value as bool. So what we have to do now, I'll explain what we do in a second, but let's go into our AI folder and open up our blackboard, and let's create a new key, which is basically a new variable. So here in this case, it will be a boolean, and it will be is seeing player. By default, this will be false. Let's save. And now we are going to be setting that variable as true because we are seeing the player. Now, this is a bit different because for blackboards, we cannot access individual variables like we do with a blueprint class. We cannot go and set the is seen player variable. It will not appear. So instead, we have this universal type of variable node where we can just set it as a bool, and in here we can just make a literal name node, and we can set specifically the name, which is this one. So make sure it's copy and paste it, it has to be the same, and now we can put this to true. So instead of doing it individual, we have this universal one which we can pass the name and now set that to true, if it makes sense. So now that will be set to true. So now we can go back to our behavior tree, save, very important. And what we can do is basically make the chase sequence. So let's create a new task from the blueprint place, and we can go to AI tasks, bt underscore task underscore chase player. And in this case, once again, it will be the receive execute AI. That's like the gameplay when the task is executed. I want again to use the AI move to node. Okay. Again, it will be the control pawn, and this time it will be to the get player character. So it will directly go to the player character. Let's add some spacing as 120, and then on success it will be the finish execute. Okay, and then on fail this will be disabled. So now on here we can do the chase player task. And basically, it will never do it. Even though right now maybe it is seeing the player, okay? It will never go there. And that's because we need a condition with our blackboard key that we created. So what we can do is hover on the chase sequence, right click, add a decorator, and it will be a blackboard decorator. So we can access those variables. In this case, we want to check if the blackboard key, which is seeing player, is set, so it is true. If so, we want to go into here, and observer aborts we want to be self. So if this result changes, we want to go out, and in the selector we'll make again the decision. And now in the wonder sequence, once again it will be with the blackboard key, but this time it will be again, of course, is seeing player, but if it's not set, and this again will be self. So we can go out of this sequence to check again. So now if we press play, you can see now the player saw, the enemy saw the player and is chasing me, which is pretty cool, and I just literally abominated him. Now he's dead. So cool. You can see everything goes ahead and works in that size, which is pretty cool. Now let's make one more thing, which is in the AI controller. Go to stimulus, use this break node so we can split it, and we're gonna get successfully sensed and make this a branch to be true. So we'll only continue up so it is true, and if not, we will set this to be false so we can lose the player. So with that, now he should also be able to lose the player if he goes very far away. Okay, so let's make that our AI can go ahead and attack us. So let's import an attack animation. In my case, again, I will be leaving it in the description. So let's go into the characters folder, mannequins, animations, and let me just drop it here, okay, because it will be more like universal. So in this case, it will be this variable, this animation, and it will be the push shove attackant, okay, and we basically renamed it directly, but in the pack, it will be one that is called push shove attackant, okay, that's the one that you want. So now we can just drag this into the content browser, and we can import this. Now, very important, in this case, the skeleton will not be the SK mannequin for the Unreal Engine 5 version, it will be the SK mannequin skeleton for the old UE4. That's because the animation is built for the old version. Let's say import, and now we have it on here. You can see this, the attack animation, but it's with the old UE4. So we're gonna create a new folder, and just call this UE4, and drag it on here. And because we imported the third person template, we can just simply right click and retarget this animation. And we can select the IK retargeted or UE4 to UE5. And let's choose a location, which will be the characters mannequins animations, retarget, and now as you can see it is with the UE5 skeleton and it works great. So what I want to do is right click and create an anime montage, because an anime montage will be able to be played at any time. So now I'm gonna go into the AI blueprint, and basically we're gonna create an interface so we can communicate from our task to our AI. So let's right click, go to animation, blueprint, interface, BPI AI. In this case, let's create a new function which will be automatically created. Let's rename this to be something as just attack. We will not need any inputs or outputs, so we can just compile, save, and close. So now what we can do is go to AI, go to class settings, and go into implement interface and add our BPI AI. As you can see, now we have a new function which we can double click. So whenever this is called, we will do something here. In this case, we want to play a montage. Okay, and it will be this first one. Okay, now the second one, it will be the first one because it's more complete. We need to specify which mesh, which will be this one, and the montage will be this one. Okay, cool. Now we also have a rifle shoot montage, but that's for the old one, so not just ignore that. Okay, so now whenever this is called, we will play the attack animation. So we can test this. If we go into the tasks, we can open up our chase player, and when we basically arrive to our player, we will play another attack task. So let's go into we have a tree, new task, blueprint base, tasks, bt underscore task underscore, and this will be attack. In this case, we want the receive execute AI once again, so like when the task is executed, this is what will happen. We're gonna get the control pawn and just check if it does implement the interface that we want, which in this case is AI. If it does, we will basically go ahead and say to attack from the interface. So now we don't specifically have to cast to the AI blueprint. We can just directly call the attack task, which is cool. All right, so that said, we can then use wait like maybe 0.3 seconds, right? And then just finish the task. Finish execute. It is important to have the finish execute, because if not, and this will be on false, just in case we don't have the interface, because if not, it will never continue on in the behavior tree. So now we need to add that into the sequence. So let's go ahead and just add the attack right into the right after that one has been completed. So now it will come, and you can see that it will not do anything. Why? Well, good question. So let's just double check this. So let's print here if we have finished that task and we're executing this one. As you can see, it is printing hello in the top left of the screen. So the thing can be that it does not have that interface, but let's double check. It should now print here. As you can see, it is printing, so it does have that interface. So as you can see, this is a great way to debug by using prints, and we go further in the chain. In this case, the attack, let's just check here and make a print if it's receiving this, and it is receiving this. Okay, so in this case, it is not playing the animation montage. And why is this? Well, it is a very simple and stupid thing. Let's go and open up the animation blueprint, and now as you can see in the anim graph, we just have our blend space directly into the output pose, but the anim montages are actually played in a specific slot that we will need to add, which is the default slot. So all the animation montages will be played on this default slot, and if we don't have that slot in our animation blueprint, they will not play. And now as you can see, that will be resolved, and actually it will be attacking us. There we go, cool stuff. So that's it for the animation side. Now we need to do all the traces and damage. So let's do all of our traces and damage for our AI to apply damage into our player. So let's go into our AI folder, open up our BP AI, and on the play montage, let's go into the notify begin and do a sphere trace for objects. Now, first of all, what is the notify begin? Well, if we go into the montage animation, what we can do is specifically tell when we want to apply damage. In this case, we'll be kind of in this frame when we are reaching with our hands. So we can go into the notifies track and basically right click and add a notify montage notify. And now when this is triggered, it will trigger this. And that's the specific point where I want to do my sphere trace to detect the player and use apply damage. Great, so we can close that down. And on here, we're using a sphere trace for objects instead of a line trace by channel. Why is this? Well, first of all, we're using a sphere trace instead of a line trace, so it will be thicker, so it will just be easier to hit the player. And then we're using it for objects instead of for trace, because we can just detect a type of object, which will be pawn. So it will be easier, it will just detect the player, and that's it. So we want to be the starter position to just be the get actor location, so where we are right now, as simple as that. And the endpoint where we want to get the actor rotation. And we just want to basically get the forward vector, okay? With that done, I just want to do exactly the same that we were doing at the start with the other line trace, which is multiply this, right click to convert to a float, by how much we want forward. Let's put like 300, and let's add this to vectors, and that will be our endpoint. Now, very important, because this is a sphere, we want a radius. Let's put something as 25. Let's see that's not too thick. Now, we want some object types, so we can make an array and specify that we want to search for pawns, as our player is a pawn. And then we can preview this. So we can press play, and we'll see that now it will create this line trace which will detect the player. As you can see, it is very like far away, so we can drop this to be maybe at 170, right? So it's a bit less, and maybe this a bit thicker to be 30. And now with those changes, that should be better. Yeah, so if our player is inside of this sphere, we will apply damage. So we just make sure that we have hit something, right? If this is true, we are going to be breaking the hit result, and we can just do the same, get our hit actor and just apply damage. And that's it. How much damage? Well, depends, maybe like 10. And now we're good to go. We just need to apply that damage into the player itself. So let's go into the first person blueprints. Once again, it is using the universal Unreal thing, so we can just go ahead and just say apply damage. Apply not event any damage. So that's when we receive damage, right? In this case, we want to again have a health variable, so let's create this. Let's change it to a float. Let's compile, and let's put a default starting health, which will be just 100. Now we're gonna do exactly the same as we did. So if you remember, okay, pause the video, this is a challenge. Go ahead and subtract the health and then set it, and then make sure that if we are, if our health is less or equal than 0, just go and ragdoll the player, if you remember how to do so. So just give it a go, try it, and we'll cover this in a second. Okay, so to do this, we just go ahead and just subtract this by the incoming damage, and then we can just set the health to be the new one with the subtraction, and then we can just basically check if this health is less or equal than 0. If so, that means that we want our player to die, so we can just get our mesh, which is the body, and just set simulate physics, okay? And now it will fall and we will just die. And then an extra bonus thing is that we're gonna be disabling the input so we cannot move anymore. Great, so that should work. If I now were to just stay and be hit it a couple times, we should die. There we go. And we are falling through the ground. Yes, I know. We're gonna do a little change and just go to the mesh, go down into the collision settings, change it to custom. As you may remember, we have to change to be collision enabled query in physics so the bones can interact. And now, yes, we'll wait. And we'll fall, and it will kinda fall and collide with the ground. It looks a bit bad, but don't worry, we'll basically fade and restart the level, so that will be ignored. But now we have the damage system and health working. Okay, so let's quickly create a UI slider for our health bar. So let's go into the HUD, widget that we created earlier, add a progress bar. Let's just put it at the, I don't know, top right maybe? Doesn't really matter. Let's make this a bit wider. And like this. Change the anchor to be at the top right, very important. I'm gonna put the percent to be around 0.7, so we can just preview it, even though this will be overridden. And let's change the color to be basically, of course, red. Great, so with that said, what we need to do is update this percent. Now, very important, this goes from 0 to 1, okay, not from 0 to 100, so have that in mind. So now what we can do is bind this, and we can create a binding. So every time a value changes, in this case this value, it will update the health bar automatically. So we can basically cast to our first person character, and just get the player character. And then what we can do is access our health variable. Okay, in this case we cannot directly pass it because, like I said, this health variable goes from 0 to 100, like we have in our player, right? But in our progress bar, it is from 0 to 1. So as simple as just dividing this by 100, because it's our max value. And that will be giving us a value between 0 and 1. So now this will work. We have a health bar, and as you can see, it will be decreasing as we go, and we will basically die. So cool stuff. It basically works. So now let's also make a hit image, okay? Which will basically be an image that will be our damage image. And it will just be red, and it will just fade in and fade out real quick. So with the anchors open, there's a trick, and we can just hold Control and press this full screen. And it will fill the whole screen automatically, which is pretty nice. Let's change the tint to be completely red, okay? And like this. And then we're gonna say okay, and let's create a new animation. With this selected, we can go to the animations widget. If you don't see it, you can just go and click here and create a new animation. This will be just damage. Let's select that new animation, and let's add a track for that image. So you select it, and now we can go down, and on the where is it? On the brush color and opacity, we can change the alpha. So by default, it will be 0. So it will be starting at 0. So click a keyframe, and then after 0.25 seconds, we'll make it to around 0.3. So it'll be a bit visible. Let's add a new keyframe, and then it will be back at 0 after a couple of milliseconds. So now it will be very fast. Now it has to be a bit faster, so let's with Control zoom in, okay? And now let's just make this a bit like this, and that's a bit better. As you can see, it's like very fast, very effective, boom, and it will just work. Great, so now let's go to the graph, go to the event graph, delete all of this, and let's create a new custom event that we can call, which will be just damage UI. In this case, we'll just get our damage animation and just use the play animation node. And with that said, we're good to go. Compile, save, go back to the first person capture, sorry, go up, and very important, we have to hold Alt, break this, right click, and convert it to a variable, because of course we want to save this in a variable, okay? Okay, there you go. So if we save it in a variable, that means that we can use it, let's connect this once again, very important, down here in our health. So if this is false, that means that we are still alive, so that we want to play the animation. So we can say play damage animation. I think I called it like that, I don't even remember. Or just play animation. How was it? Oh, damage UI, okay. Damage UI. And now that will work. So if I go and compile and press play, you'll see that we don't have the HUD, but if we press play and we receive damage, it will play that little thing, which works very well. Cool, so with that said, we have that done. Okay, so now let's add a sound effect, so when we receive damage, so the whole experience will be completed, right, when we press damage. So let's go into the folder. In this case, I have left another sound, which is the grunt. Just drag it inside of our audio folder. And now let's also duplicate one of our meta sounds, and just rename this to be just grunt. And let's apply that grunt sound effect. And now we'll play a different one every time, which is pretty cool. Alright, so with that said, now we're gonna go into the first person character, and when we play the animation UI, we're gonna also display a sound to the a location will work, and now this will be ms underscore grunt. There we go, and location will be get actor location. Now another thing I want to do is create a sound attenuation, but let's test this out real quick. That will work great. So a sound attenuation will allow us to play sounds in 3D, which will complete the effect. So let's go ahead and do so. So in our audio folder, right click, go into audio and create a sound attenuation. This will be called SA underscore use character, because overall it will be the sounds coming from the character. Let's open this up. It changes a bit, so the inner radius will be 200, which is the minimum amount of distance to play it in totally 2D, and the default distance will be how far away the sound will play, and it will slowly fade out. So this time it will be something as 2000. With that said, we're gonna save and go inside of all of our MS sounds, click on source, attenuation, and add it. So it'll be this one, and this one. And now they will be playing all in 3D. So from the player perspective, it will not really work, but that's more if the enemy shoots or whatever, which it will not shoot, but you know what I mean, like footsteps and so on. Now you can see that when the player dies, he will still attack me and move and everything. That's because he's still alive. We just ragdolled him, but the logic is still there. So let's go and open up our AI blueprint, and let's create a new variable which will be is dead. By default, of course, it will be false, but in here when we set the ragdoll, we're gonna set is dead to be true, and what we're going to do is get the this node, which is disable movement, and then we just stop the movement. That's important. And then also when we attack, we will only do this if we are not dead. So for that we can get is dead and make a not boolean. So if this is not true, well, we can continue. So that should be resolved. Now if I kill my enemy, he will not move or attack me. So there we go, that's said and done. So that will be saved. Okay, so let's do one pretty much final thing about the controller and so on, and it's right now if we shoot on idle, it looks great, but if we shoot while we're walking, as you can see, he shoots sideways and it doesn't look very good. So let's make that the pistol will go back to like kind of its idle animation right at the center, so we can attack for just that couple of milliseconds that we're attacking. So for that, what we're going to do is select go into content, first person arms, animations, and you can see here we have the pistol idle ADS, which is the one that we imported. Let's duplicate this and let's just rename this to use pistol shoot. Okay, let's open this pistol shoot and let's just make it very short. Okay, I don't know how short, but I guess that around, I don't know, 0.4, 0.5, if so we can make it shorter. Okay, so put the cursor on 0.5. okay. I'm gonna right click and remove frame 15 to 151, and now will just be this. So from there we can just right click and create a montage. I'm gonna play that montage when we shoot. So very important, let's enter in our animation blueprint of arms, and in graph, and add the default slot. As I talked about before, we need that to play the animation montages. Now we're gonna go into the first person blueprint, and when we shoot, we're gonna do one more thing, which is play montage, and we can use we need the play montage node. Select the arms and play the shoot, pistol shoot. And now, as you can see, when we walk, he will do that. Now it is very it has to be quicker, right? So we can change things on the animation montage. Let's open this up, as the transitions. In this case, we have the blend in and the blend out. So the blend in has to be very quick, so maybe like 0.1, and the blend out like 0.4. It has to be kind of that combination. So let's see. That's a bit better. It is faster. The blend out should be even more, right? Like maybe 0.7 even. I don't know. We need to play with these values, but okay. So it is too long. Wait, what if the blend out is also very quick? Oh, this will be a bit better. Okay, so let's do this like 0.35. Oh, there we go. There you go. So that's fixed. Now if we move, we will also play a proper animation, so it will not be like shooting sideways, which is pretty cool. Okay, so now we can start to duplicate with Alt all of the enemies and start creating a mayhem over here if they see me, which is pretty cool. Now another thing let's quickly do is in the AI blueprint disable the for duration sphere trace debug, and now that should look good. Alright guys, it is time to start creating the environment. So for this, what we're going to do is use some quixel megascans, which of course are free. So what we have to do is open up Quixel Bridge to import them. So let's go up into Window and click on Quixel Bridge. In my case, I already have it here. So I already have downloaded some megascans, as you can see. I have a whole bunch of them for different things, but in this case, I want to use this weathered concrete wall. I think it will look pretty cool. So okay, so I have to sign in, but let's do this. Okay, so let me import this weathered concrete wall. You can just search it by the name, okay, and just select the quality, download it. I guess I already done that, and then click add into the project. Now this interface is very slow, okay, but like very slow, so take your time to click it. Wait until you can hover over the other things, right? That's when it has imported. There we go. If I minimize this here, so take your time. In this case, I'll import more stuff as this rusty boat hull. That's the other material that we'll use. So let me click on add. Again, a lot of patience, but basically I am going to be importing after this. So let me just say the assets that I will import, and I will import them off camera because this is gonna take a lot. So the next one will be tar pit crate, so import that. Then we'll have cement rumble, and then we'll have this rusty metal barrel, okay, and then we'll have these 3 different graffitis. Now you can choose the ones that you like, okay, but it will be graffiti tag, graffiti, and graffiti tag, okay. So just choose whatever you like. In this case, my ones will be those. And then I have a modular stained pillar kit, and that will be it, okay. The other ones are for other stuff, so I'll go ahead and just choose those. So let me import this. Alright guys, finally I have imported everything, okay. So don't worry if it takes a bit of time, it is normal. It's mainly more of the UI and so on. But we have everything. So let's create a new level. Let's start to set some walls, some floors, and just apply the materials. So let's go up into File, New Level, and in this case it will be Basic, Create. Okay, so now we have this basic level, and what did our floor go? Okay, it is loading, thankfully. Okay, I thought it was completely bugged out. So let's wait just a second here. Okay, so here it is, everything loaded, thankfully. So we just have this simple floor. Alright, so let's apply a material to this floor to begin with. In this case, it will be and under surfaces, the weathered concrete, drag it here. So we'll use the same for the floor and for the walls, okay? So I am actually gonna go and change a bit the tiling to be like 0.5 and 0.5. So it looks a bit better. There we go. So let's begin to add our walls, and we will actually use simple cubes, okay? So just go up into the quickly add to the project section, shapes, cube, drag it. This will be our wall. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and change the scale. In this case, we'll expand it across the this axis. So I guess like 5 and 5. So let's see. I guess of height, this will be pretty good. And then this will be like more thin, like this, I think. So let's press play. Maybe that's a bit too high. I think it will work good, honestly. Like 4 and 4. So it has to be even, because if not, it will be stretched, okay? Very important. Yeah, I think that 4 will do the job. So let's go ahead and just attach this to be the bottom. I'm gonna go into the megascans, surfaces, weather, concrete, and just drag it here, okay? So this will actually, we need to stretch it a bit more. So I guess like 7. Yeah, 7 works. So 7.5 and 4 will be our measurements, and to not stretch it. And now we just need to start, you know, to begin making the walls. So let's begin. So in my case, let me rotate this 90 degrees, and this will be the entrance, okay, which you will have already entered in this case, for example, right? We'll just have this, and then we'll have another wall. Rotate this 90 degrees, put this here, and we'll just make a simple room, okay? So I'm not making anything fancy. It will be just a simple room, nothing crazy. Okay, why did I move like that? Okay, so make sure this is in local world position, because if not, it will not work. So hold Alt and just drag it in, and we'll start to create walls, okay? The same for here. We'll drag it once more, and we'll select these walls, hold Alt, and drag them to here, and just put them like this, okay? And yeah, so this will be like an abandoned kind of place, if you get me. Now this is very big, so let me lock it and let me like half the size, and let's put it over here. Maybe like 5 will do the job. Okay, this will be a bit better. And as you can see, they're not even, but that's good because it's like a destroyed place, so it will be better. With that said, I am going to save this level. So I'm gonna go into first person, maps, and this will be our actual map. So let me just name it map. Let me just go ahead and hold Alt and duplicate the floor. It will be way thinner, so like 0.5 or something like that. Okay, so make sure to unlock this. All right, so that will be better. Maybe like 1. Yeah, 1 will work. Put this here, okay, and make sure to change the surface to be the rusty metal. That will be this one, okay. And this is very big, so like 0.3 and 0.3. Well, that will make it bigger, right? So maybe like 2 and 2. Yeah, 2 and 2 will work. Wow, cool. Okay, as you can see, we are starting to get things, but you know, it is looking a bit too bad, and that's mainly because of post-processing. So let's go to unlit and work like this, and we'll sort things out a bit later. So let's go ahead and just do this. Let me just visualize this. Yeah, so also I am kind of, I don't know if you had noticed, but I'm inspiring on the body cam game that was super popular a few months ago, right? I don't know if you remember. So actually, one of the trailers showcased a map kind of looking like this, right? So I honestly, kind of a memory, remember a bit how it was made. So I'm gonna make this like this. So if it's similar, it's because I'm taking heavy inspiration of that game. Okay, so let me just put this over here, rotate this around 90 degrees, and just put this like this. As you can see, everything is not straight, but that's kind of done to make it symbolize as like an abandoned place, you know. So there we go. It will be more like this until maybe here. So holding Alt is the key, okay, to duplicate. And make sure that there are no overlapping, so artifacts will not occur, as you can see. And this should look pretty cool. Alright, there we go. And for me, I need to stretch this, okay? And they should work, okay. So we're starting to have something. Now, we have to, this is not really a horror game, so there's a lot of things to change in here on the lighting and ambience, okay? So, first of all, let's go back into lit mode and add a post-process volume. That's the first thing. Drag it into level, okay? And let's retouch some things. So on the post-process volume, let's search for infinity and just turn it on. So it will affect everything that is not only inside of this bounce, but the whole level in general. Let's go into exposure, go to min and max, and let's lock it in 1. So the exposure will be locked. Great. So now what I want to do is just play around. So I think that 0.3 will make it a bit more exciting. And then I am going to change the exponential height fog to be volumetric. And then I'm gonna change to unlit and make a gap for some light. So let me open this up. Okay. Let me duplicate this like this. And then duplicate this and put it like here. And just do like this. So basically I'm just doing a little gap for light to come in. Okay. And don't worry, I know this is looking very bad because it's all like squashed. So actually I'm gonna just make it taller so we'll not overlap. There you go. So the wall, where is the wall? Okay, there. Okay, so that should kind of work. So if I go to lit, the light will be coming there, which is what I basically want. Which is pretty cool. Yeah, so we kind of coming there. Okay, so yeah. So with if you hold Control L, you can move around the lighting. In my case, it will be this angle. Okay, you can copy the angles if you want to get the same effect as me. Then I am going to also add a flashlight into the player's head so we can see a bit better. So let me quickly go to the first person blueprints and just add a flashlight. So in my case, it's gonna be in the camera. Actually, it would be cooler if it's in the pistol, right? Yeah. So let's add a spotlight, and this will be a flashlight, and we can anchor it into our muzzle, which is right at the tip. And now we have a little flashlight, as you can see, which looks pretty cool and will animate and everything, which is cool. Then more things. Let me make the directional light, I think, more intensive. So like 12. And let me open up another part over here, okay? So more light will enter in this area. So let me how do I do this? Okay, this I'm going crazy. Okay, I guess like that, and then backwards. So this is where, okay, yes, like this is better, yes. And then hold Alt, move it to here, yes, and then hold Alt. So we're basically making holes, okay? Yeah, that's pretty cool, I think. All right. And then I'm gonna make, like, get this and hold and duplicate them up, so we won't see the sky. It will be like other blocks. There we go. It's like blocked. Cool. So we're starting to have things. So let me go ahead and also add some other spotlights over here. Okay. So it'll be like here, and we can just make it unlit, and we can see how we can kind of make this look pretty cool. Alright, make it a bit more orangey, but just a bit, well, more, I think like this. Kind of make it like this, and just put some spotlights across the level, you know? That's basically what I'm doing. Nothing crazy, but we'll improve them later because they're just literally like that. Okay, so let's add some rumbles and so on. So for that, let's enter in megascans through the assets, and we have our rumble, and let's start to add it over here, and let's make it way bigger. So let's lock it, and let's put like 3 or something, and we can fill in more. So the trick here is just basically going ahead and duplicating and rotating. Okay, that's the thing. So let me add it across pretty much the whole wall over here. Let me rotate this, and we're gonna add it in all of the corners. Okay, that's how we're gonna go ahead and just add a lot of detail into it. Okay, there we go. And then we are also gonna go ahead and just add more in general at the middle, but it will be kind of smaller, you know what I mean? Smaller piles. So we're gonna add some rumble like this. Okay, and this will kind of work like this. And as you can see, this will improve a lot how it looks, like so. And as you can see, it is slowly looking pretty damn cool with all the rumble there, pretty real, pretty realistic. So we basically need to add kind of more. So I mean, it's a whole job because it's very simple, but it is very tedious, right? Because we have to start to go ahead and just add all the rumble, and it's this job, you know. But like this, I think will be pretty cool. So let's add some more. All right, like this, nothing crazy. So we can put it in leads to see also how it's looking. Wow, with the light, it does look great. And very important, I like to, some of them just make them taller to add some volume into them, you know. Not a lot of them, of course. All right. Okay. And then we can make the borders more like this, right? So they feel like the rumble is slowly going off, right? It's not like directly like a very sharp end. So it'll be a bit more realistic, you know. So we can put it back to on lead a bit. There we go. And we just make it feel a bit more realistic, as you can see, which looks pretty cool. And let's also just go into 3D assets and start to add some of the pillars, so we can just drag them into our level. Oh my goodness. And we that was, oh right, I added the other one. Okay, I want the tall one. There we go. Just make it reach the ground, right? The ground, not the you know what I mean, the ceiling, right? So let's add a few of them here, because it does improve this a lot. And let's add also some of this barrels over here. So basically go and add this one, and then this, right? A bit smaller, so maybe like 0.7. Let's put this here, duplicate this one here, maybe this one will be a bit bigger, so like 1.2. We can select all of them, putting in this one and change a bit the order. So this one will be more like here, this one like here, this one like here, right? And slowly you get a bit of the environment going on, right? Nothing crazy, but I think it looks pretty cool. And more things, we can add this crate over here, into here too, and so on. And that looks pretty cool. This one I'm gonna delete it. I don't really like it. I think it looks cool like this. And in this case, I'm gonna, I think, maybe hide this thing, because it's like very marked, right? Maybe we can play around with the lighting again, but I think this one's pretty cool. It's more like direct inside of it. Well, maybe we can add a bit of an angle, right? It's like, I don't know what it even is, but more into here. There we go. That looks a bit nicer. You know, we can play around with that. Really like it. So let's also, very important, add now the nav mesh bounce volume, because it's how the AI will work. So let's fill this up with maybe 50, so it will cover the whole map, as you can see. And let's add our AI, and we press play. Our AI will already be there, looking pretty damn cool. And you see how everything is going ahead and looking pretty cool. So basically I have to do the same kind of decorate through those things. So let me do it real quick, just add some rumble on the borders and so on. Alright, so I have added some more rumble, or let me just kill the AI, a bit more rumble on the edges of some of the places. I use a column with some barrels on the crate, right, and then more rumble on here. Nothing crazy, just basically what we were doing here, but just a bit more here, and that's it. So another thing that I want to mention is you can see that message saying that the texture streaming pool is over the whatever number budget. That's because, well, quixel megascans assets are pretty heavy indeed. So what I had to do is go to the console command and just type r.streaming.pool size, and then we can just put whatever value we want. In this case, for example, 7,000. And now that message will be gone, as you can see, and there we go. And also, let's just what I'm doing is duplicating this wall to put 1, and it will be like kind of a dark wall, so you know that you cannot exit that way. So let me create a quick, but actually there's already probably black material that we can use, right? Or maybe not. Yeah, there is. There we go. This is the one that I was searching for. Be purely black, so it symbolizes that we cannot go there. So yeah, there we go. So the environment is pretty much done. We need to set collisions for this, which we'll do in a second, and then we'll replace the enemies to models with a cooler one, and that should be it. Hey, we're gonna do some retouches, but and the fade out to restart the level, but that's it. So let's add the collisions. So in this case, let's start with the barrels. Select them in the level, press Ctrl E as Ctrl Edit. This will open them up. I can just add a simple box simplified collision. So because they don't need to be accurate, we can save resources and performance by just adding a simple box collision, because we just want to not go over them. Nothing crazy. The same with this. Once again, it will be a simple box collision because we don't need nothing crazy. And then with the crate, exactly the same thing. They have pretty much the shape of a cube or a box, right? So we can just do that like so. Hopefully, there we go, it will not crash. And we can save that, and then we'll have collisions. Now for the rumble, I am going to leave them without collisions because, well, you can just kind of walk over them, and they have a lot of geometry, so I will just leave them without collisions. Okay, I will not think this a huge deal. Okay, so quickly, let's make that if you die, the level will restart. So let me make a fade screen. So let's duplicate the damage image and do a fade image. In this case, the brush will be completely opaque. Okay, it's black and dark. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just create a new animation. Okay, which will be fade. And this fade will go from alpha 0 to in 0.5, so it'll take a bit longer to completely 1. Okay, like that, and then it will stay at 1 for a couple of seconds, right? And then we'll restart the level. So if I go out, make sure that this by default is 0. Okay, so make sure to deselect the animation and set it to 0. So now we can just create another thing, custom event, right, which will be fade animation. And now, yes, we're going to get the fade and the play animation node. And with that said, we are ready to go. We just need to go here when we die, right in the health, which is here. Get the HUD widget and just call the fade animation event. And with that said, after a delay of how much was it? Let me double check. Of 0.15 seconds, we can just restart the level. And to be safe, I'm gonna do it as 1.48. So I have a bit of space between them, and then we just open level, and this will be a map. So it will basically reopen the map once again. And now, if I were to die by the enemy AI, we get a fade, which worked very bad, and that's because it is repeating. So make sure to do a do once, okay? Because the enemy will keep attacking and it will keep making damage, and it will keep going to this condition and resetting all this. So now that should be in theory working. Let me just test it out. We go with fade out and we restart the level. So everything is going ahead and working. So pretty cool. So let's go ahead and restart. Just replace the enemy AI model. One quick thing though is I'm going to increase the FOV of the camera to around 120 because you will see that it will look really good and create a more of a body cam feeling, as you can see. That looks great. Now maybe 120 is too much, so maybe like 110, 105, well 120, and you can see that it will look a bit nicer and cooler, right? I think with the greater FOV. So that's cool. So we are going to be using this sci-fi character, so let's go ahead and get it. It's completely free. Let's click add to project, and let's go ahead and select our project, add to project, and now let's go ahead and wait. Okay, so it has imported, it is here, and we can see the mesh with the whole things, right? So let's go into the AI and let's replace it, right? So let's go into AI. In this case, it will be the blueprint mesh, and on the scale to mesh we have now more options, and we have it separately or joined. In this case, of course, joined, and we have a few options. I think that this one will work. That looks pretty cool. Yeah, this one looks pretty cool. It's like, I think it has like blue or something in the face. Oh yeah, this one will work. Looks pretty cool for me. You can choose whatever you want. Yeah, that looks way cooler. All right, so, oh yeah, that's cooler. Okay, so last things now, yes or yes. Okay, we're gonna add some ambience sound, okay, to make this like a bit more, not really spooky, but more atmospheric. And then we are also going to be adding some screams for the AI, so it feels a bit more, I guess, also is intimidating. So let's go and do so. Alright, so here are the sounds. We have the AI scream and ambience loop. Let's import them into our project. In this case, we're gonna double click on the ambience loop and click looping. Very important. Okay, so now what I can do is just drag the ambience loop into the level, and it will just play in a loop, which is pretty cool. And then the AI scream, well, I have to basically and just duplicate the meta sound, so it will be different every time. Once again, so let's quickly do this, and it will be AI scream. I know how to type. There we go. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just put the AI scream to be here, and then whenever the AI sees the player, I am going to do so, which will be on the AI perception AI controller. So on here I'm gonna do this, do once, and there we go. Okay, so MS AI scream location, and we cannot just do get actor location. We have to basically get the owner of the AI perception, okay, and then get the actor location, okay, because this is the AI controller. So now if he sees us, there you go, he shouts, and I'm gonna do also when he attacks, also play it. So let me copy this notes, go here, and so in here let's make a random boolean which will play this sound or not. Okay, so very important also, the meta sound has to have the attenuation, so it'll be in 3D. There we go, so it'll be realistic. And now here we're gonna do a random bool. Okay, so depending on this, it will maybe shout or not when he attacks. pretty cool, honestly. All right, so that's pretty much it. We can, you know, play around a bit with the fog and so on, but overall, that's what we got, guys. I think that honestly, it's looking pretty cool. Not gonna lie. So yeah, we can play with the scattering and so on, the extinction scale, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, we go. And also I like to touch a bit of the post processing, a bit of the kind of the colors and so on. So if we go down, we can also add some chromatic aberration. That's also pretty good. So like 0.7, and then in the global color grading and saturation, like 0.1, and in contrast also like 0.1. So it will bring things a bit more to life, you know. And then also I like to add some kind of grain. Right, it looks pretty cool. So film grain we can add a bit, so like 0.5, and now it does look pretty cool. And of course we can add more AIs into the level to fully pull this out, but you get the idea. This now is pretty much complete. Now one quick thing is that I'm gonna decrease the AI perception sight radius to around 1500 and the vision to like 80 or actually 78, something like that, and then lose sight radius to, yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so now yes, we have it complete, and let's check this out. So that's it, guys. If you found this tutorial helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to my channel. It took a lot of effort and time. Remember that the project files are available in my Patreon and YouTube members, just in case you want to download the whole project with all the code and stuff. So check it out through the link in the description. Join my Discord server, follow me on my socials, and now yes, with all that said, bye bye.